Oh, this should be interesting. By the way, if you want that, or any of the t-shirts you be seeing me wear, check the description box. Let's check this out right now. Hey, stop playing with me. There we go.
Coming off of the Fantastic Four first steps and going into Avengers Doomsday, one of the biggest things that is shrouded in mystery right now is the backstory for Doctor Doom. Marvel spent a lot of money bringing Robert Downey Jr. back to play Victor Von Doom.
Is he going to be legit Doom or variation Doom?
In the MCU, or so we're told he's going to be playing Victor Von Doom. There's always a chance that he could actually be a Tony Stark variant, but for now we'll go ahead and say that he is indeed a Victor Von Doom variant of the multiverse. And this is kind of the issue right now. We don't know anything about Doctor Doom or his backstory in the MCU. But I do think Marvel is actually going to go about revealing his backstory in a pretty clever way. And the Russo brothers, who directed Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, are back to direct Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. And they've already used this method of introducing our big bad villain in Avengers Infinity War when they introduced Thanos. And I believe they're pretty much going to use the same method in Avengers Doomsday to introduce Doom. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And Infinity War is an amazing movie. They nailed it with that movie, so I'm all for them taking what worked with that and using it for Doomsday. And the way they're going to introduce his backstory comes in two different ways, and these two different ways are very important for the two different parts of Doom's backstory that they need to tell. Pretty much since the Thunderbolts came out, we've been hearing that the Sentry, or Bob, is going to have a very important role in Avengers Doomsday. This doesn't mean he's going to be one of the leads or one of the main characters of the film, but at some point in time in the movie, he's going to provide a very important role for the film's plot. And thanks to Unbox PhD, the account that has been taking set photos and set videos and getting lots of information from the set of Avengers Doomsday, we know that on the set there's a house titled Annie Reynolds' house. And in the comics, Annie Reynolds is the mother of Robert, or Bob Reynolds, aka the Sentry. But why are we visiting his mother's home in Avengers Doomsday? Well, I believe it's all about Doctor Doom trying to use Sentry. You see, Doctor Doom knows that he's going to have to go up against a bunch of different superheroes to achieve whatever his goal is. Based on what we've been hearing, it's to get to Loki at the Citadel. And he's going to use Franklin Richards for something, be that resurrecting the Scarlet Witch, which is a rumor that we've heard, or using Franklin Richards as the MCU's version of Molecule Man. We don't know at this point in time, but Doom knows he's going to have to fight some people, specifically the Fantastic Four and any other heroes they may align with. That would be the Avengers and the X-Men. And we've been hearing that Doom will have his own kind of multiversal Avengers team, and he will have some followers, and it looks like he's seeking out the Sentry to be a part of his team, which makes sense. If you saw him in the Thunderbolts, he's incredibly
you want him
powerful,
on your team,
as long as he's in control and not the Void. So I believe Doctor Doom is going to seek to kind of heal the Sentry of the Void, which could take us, at least in some flashback scenes, to his mother's home. And this is where I think Doctor Doom, in trying to rid Bob of the Void, comes in contact with the Void. And as we saw in the Thunderbolts, when you touch Bob, when you come in contact with the Void, it takes you to an extremely traumatic point in your life. And this is where I think we get the first part of Doom's backstory, the backstory of him and Latveria. And I've seen that some of you have actually kind of put the pieces together for this puzzle. I've seen a few comments about Sentry and Doom and Doomsday stating that they're going to use the Void to show us the backstory of Doctor Doom, which is exactly what I think is going to happen. They need to do this. And again, the first part is Latveria. With this comes his birth, his origin basically, his relationship with his parents, him learning sorcery from his mother's books, both of his parents dying, Mephisto basically tricking his mother and taking her soul. All incredibly important things that you have to know about Doctor Doom's backstory, at least in the comics. But these are core things, core moments that make up Doctor Doom and who he is. For example, his mother is tricked by Mephisto and her soul gets taken to the Hell Dimension. This in turn causes Doctor Doctor Doom to try and create a device that allows him to communicate with his mother. But the device ends up malfunctioning and it explodes and it scars his face. That's how he gets his scars and that's why he wears the mask. That's a very important part to Doom's story and who he is. So that first part is incredibly important for people to know that he is an incredibly powerful sorcerer. He was taught by his mother, self-study and other means, but his mother did practice.
Yeah, when I was younger, see, I grew up Jehovah's Witness, so we weren't allowed to be messing around with anything that was like satanic or, sorcery, stuff like that. So, like, when I heard about that as a kid, about Dr. Doom, I just stayed away from collecting any comics that had to do with him. I only started to see more of him as I got older and, I'm not religious anymore. So I watch certain things, but I still stay away from certain things because I've heard some real wild stuff about people making certain movies and stuff happening on set and in people's houses when they got certain stuff. I stay away from certain things. You know what I mean?
Sorcery herself. That's all incredibly important. Then there's the next part, his genius and his tech, and this actually comes from his time in college. Well, it comes from a lot, of course, but the main moment that they're going to need to show us is his time in college with Reed Richards, where he's roommates with Reed in college in America.
Matter of fact, I think that's why they didn't make him like that in the first Fantastic Four. I feel like they probably were like, people are going to be like, all right, this is too satanic. Its origin's a little too satanic. Why don't we make it a little bit more kid-friendly? And he got exposed to the cosmic rays just like they did.
This is where his rivalry with Reed Richards begins, which ultimately leads to his rivalry with the Fantastic Four. Now, slight spoilers for the Fantastic Four First Steps if you haven't seen it yet, but in the Fantastic Four First Steps, in their universe, the 828 universe, they do show us a Latverian sign and a flag 2 times in the movie where all the world leaders come together at the Future Foundation. They show us this. Now, it's empty, implying that Doctor Doom is not there, but it does severely hint that Doctor Doom is from this universe, especially with that post-credit scene where Doom shows up at the Baxter Building. So I believe that Doom is from that 828 universe, and I think that it's actually necessary for him to be from that universe so Reed and Sue and the rest of the Fantastic Four can actually fill the Avengers and the X-Men and the audience in on that second part of who Doctor Doom is. We need this for the movie. The Century in the Void will tell us all about Doom's childhood, basically, how he became a powerful sorcerer, but then, via flashbacks and Reed Richards telling us what Dr. Doom, or Victor Von Doom, was like in college, will fill us in on his genius. It'll fill us in on the rivalry between Reed and Victor in college. It'll fill us in on how incredibly genius he actually is. Now, he's not smarter than Reed, but he's still one of the smartest people in Marvel Comics history. And it's very important that the audience and the X-Men and the Avengers know that,
not one to be
because
trifled
it
with.
Sounds like Doom is going to use his technology to attack the X-Men. From what we've heard, Doom goes to the X-Men universe and attacks the X-Mansion, and he uses Sentinels to do so. So he most likely hacks into the Sentinels and uses
Get down
them to
here,
attack the
Sentinel.
X-Men. We've also heard that while Doom is heading for Loki and some of the Avengers are going to the TVA to try and stop him, there is an attack on Earth at the same time, and I believe this could be, well, one, his team that he's acquired that actually believe in what he's doing, and we'll get to that in just a bit, but I also think it could be Doombots. I think this would be incredibly cool to see, and it would really show us how strong and smart Doctor Doom really is, because that's Doctor Doom's biggest thing. Well, one of them. He's incredibly powerful as a sorcerer. In fact, in the comics, he becomes the Sorcerer Supreme at one point. So it's really important to show how big of a threat Doctor Doom really is, and to do that, you really have to dive into his backstory to really show you how he became who he is and what he's capable of. And I think to do that, you definitely have to show these 2 parts of his backstory that I mentioned. His youth in Latveria, his relationship with his parents, him learning sorcery, and then his time in college with Reed Richards, which eventually does lead to him going back to Latveria.
Yeah, part of me feels like Strange should know something about him. You know what I mean? That'll be interesting how they connect those two.
area because he gets kicked out of college, and eventually he rules over it. There is going to be a third part to his backstory, but I think they're going to actually explain this using Doctor Doom himself, and that is why he is doing what he's doing in Avengers Doomsday. Now, in the comics, he believes that he's actually out to save the multiverse, and that is actually true. That is what he seeks out to do with Molecule Man. He seeks out to save the multiverse from being destroyed because he learns that the Beyonders are indeed going to destroy the entire multiverse. Will that be somewhat of the same story for Doom in Avengers Doomsday? We'll have to wait and see. But we have heard from some insiders like Alex Perez from thecosmiccircus.com that Doom does indeed believe he is the hero and not the villain. But at the same time, Thanos believed the same thing. So we'll have to see what his motives really are. Now, ultimately, he realizes in the comics that he can't save the multiverse, so he decides to save one thing, Battleworld, a combination of a bunch of different universes combined into one world, and he makes himself a king and ruler over it. It's God he becomes, but that's where we get into Avengers Secret Wars. So I think this is how they tell Doctor Doom's backstory in Avengers Doomsday. Now again, this would require him to be from the 828 universe, but I think Marvel has already set that up in the Fantastic Four First Steps. I wish we had a lot more time to introduce Doom, but we are where we are. And yes, we did have a build-up to Thanos in the Infinity Saga, but really in Infinity Wars where we found out all about Thanos and what he was trying to do. This is what I said the Russo brothers did before, through Gamora telling us about her experience with Thanos, and through Wong and Doctor Strange explaining the Infinity Stones, and Bruce Banner talking about his run-in with Thanos, we learned all about him. This is the method I believe the Russos are going to do in Avengers Doomsday. They'll use the Void to show us some of Doom's backstory when he was a kid, and then they'll use Reed Richards, much like they used Gamora and Bruce Banner, to tell us what Doom is like as an adult and what he's seeking to do right now. Which should definitely work, because again, it worked for Thanos, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. So I do trust in the Russo brothers because they provided us with some of the best MCU projects. Captain America the Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. They could definitely do it again, and I believe and hope that they will. But in the
I know you do, Warren. Because Warren knows exactly what's going on right now in Hollywood. Yeah. Woo! I hope they ain't been gotten to. I hope Disney has thought this through. That rhymed into play the game. Bars! Hope they do it right.
Time, let me know what you think if the Russo brothers use this method of giving us Doom's backstory in Avengers Doomsday. Would you like?
Get over and follow the Cosmic Wonder. Tell them Tyrone Magnus sent you. We'll see how they do it. I am curious. I really want to know what Doom he truly is. I just hope it's, oh God. It's, the bar is so low at this point. I just want it to be good. I mean, the Russo brother fan in me just wants a resurgence of what we saw with the Winter Soldier or Civil War or Infinity War or even Endgame. Please. I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired with Marvel. 10 million subscribers.